Republicans and Democrats, terrorists disguising their acts behind the media's purchased agenda. All the news.
Okay, we're back here on All the News. This is Chris Aiken, and before we get into this next segment, I just want to remind everybody to check out our website, www.allthenews.com. We also have Twitter and Facebook and blah, 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 blah. That's all out there, so please, by all means, check it out and subscribe to the podcast and get this thing downloaded to your iPhone or mobile device or what have you, commercial free. You can get it without the commercials, so check it out there if you are not just digging it here. But in any event, we were talking earlier about the National Day of Prayer being recalled by the government and how we're always stunned when the people in our government are scumbags and make scumbag moves. We're stunned that President Obama proved out to be a complete liar, that all of his words were not good, that he didn't make good on his promises. I will do this and I will do that. And time again, this guy has turned out to be a lying phony. And, yeah, we're outraged. How could he have promised transparency in the healthcare debate and not provided it? I am outraged. Why are you outraged? Are you really stunned? Are you really stunned? That's my question. Because if you're not really stunned, then you shouldn't really be surprised. Because our country has a long, long history of scumbags in the office. And if you are surprised, it's because you're led by media perception and not by reality. Because there's no possible way you could ever be stunned that a person or congressman or Republican member of the House of Representatives or a judge or a mayor or you name it, there's no way that you could ever be stunned that they're not good to their word, that they're immoral, that they're just basically bad people. There's no way that can happen. There's no way. And interestingly, when I was preparing for this segment, it led me to this to a place, and I'm going to encourage all of you to go out to this place because it really profiles just how bad things are with the people that we elect into our government. If you do a search, and I did this on the fly just because I was looking for a list to prove out this point, and boy, did I find one. I did a search for political scandals of the United States. And sure enough, there's a Wikipedia page. So take this information with a grain of salt. But I remember a lot of this stuff that I'm going to read to you here. So I'm going to think that most of it is pretty accurate. Again, it's Wikipedia. It could be, it could not be. But if you do that search, political scandals of the United States, you will find the single longest Wikipedia page I think I have seen online. This thing is gigantic. And what it does is it breaks down the scumbags in our government and the crimes that they've committed and been sentenced to or not sentenced to, but it breaks down every political scandal of our time. And I mean, it goes all the way back to the 20s and even before that. But the thing that's interesting to me here is if you look at this thing, they break it down into segments by time periods. And it's, again, I'm not saying this is complete, but I'm saying it is just an interesting thing to look at. When you look at the time period, the first grouping I'm going to look at. I mean, it goes all the way back to the 1800s, actually. But in 1900, they do a grouping from 1900 to 1939, 40 years. And in 40 years, you've got about 12 egregious things that happened, okay? 1940 to 1969, another 30-year mark. You've got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, right? Then they start from 1970 to 1979. And it picks up as we go here. There's, I think, 12 in that 10-year period. Then there's about 20 in the 80s. Then there's about 35 or so in the 90s. And when we get to the 2000s, which is what I'm going to read you, from 2000 to 2009, the list is off the hook. Obviously, our political people have gotten worse and worse. We are electing worse and worse scumbags of people as we move forward. Now, what does that say about us? Well, first of all, I think it says about us, since, these people are somewhat elected, by us, it says that we, the people, are dirty scumbags as well. And that should surprise nobody, because I'm sure you've been effed over by somebody in your world at least once a year. At least once a year, somebody does something that you just flat out don't agree with, that you think is wrong, immoral, not in good faith, what have you. So, to me, I read this and I say, yeah, this is a good cross-section of America. We're just a country built of immoral, unethical, dirty scumbags. And needless to say, by being that group of people, we elect dirty, immoral, unethical scumbags. So check it out. Let's go through some of this, and you guys can see for yourself just what a fine collection of individuals we have running this country. This is from 2000 to 2009. You've got Alabama Governor Dan Siegelman found guilty of bribery, mail fraud, and obstruction of justice on June 29th of 2006, sentenced to 88 months in jail. Alabama Birmingham Mayor Larry Langford was arrested December 1st, 2008 by the FBI on an 101 count indictment alleging conspiracy, bribery, fraud, money laundering, and filing false tax returns in connection with a long-running bribery scheme. That's two. Alaska Governor Sarah Palin, vice president nominee in the 2008 elections. Troopergate refers to her alleged dismissal of Walt Monaghan because he would not fire State Trooper Mike Wooten, Palin's ex-brother-in-law. So there's another. Even Sarah Palin gets hit with the, not following the ethics, so to speak, okay? Let me turn this here so I can read it here. Alaska politician corruption probe in which, we'll skip that one, but that's another one here. Thomas Anderson, Republican, state representative for District 19, was found guilty on 7 felony counts of extortion, bribery, conspiracy, and money laundering. He was sentenced in October 15th, 2006 to a term of 60 months, 5 years in prison. So as you can see, we're just getting started, and we are already finding guys that are just absolute, jagoffs. Okay, let's see. Pete Cott, Republican, state representative for District 17 on September 25th, 2007. He was found guilty on 3 charges of bribery and sentenced to 6 years in prison and fined $10,000. Vic Coring, Republican state Republican state representative, was convicted on November 1st, 2007 of 3 counts of bribery by the Vecco Corporation. In 2008, he was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. Jim Clark, state chief of staff to Governor Frank Murkowski, was found guilty on 1 felony conspiracy charge involving the Alaska political corruption probe. These are all guys that were busted in this Alaska probe, but they're all elected officials. These guys are all elected. Bruce Wayhawk, state representative for Juneau, was indicted. John Cowdery, state senator for the O District, convicted 31009, sentenced to 6 months house arrest and fined $25,000. Ted Stevens, senator from Arkansas. Vecco Corporation was also found for extensive remodeling at Stevens' home. So this guy took bribes. He was convicted on 7 charges in October 27, 2007. And let's see. So that's 7 people just in Arkansas. California State Senator Carol Midgden was accused by the FAR Political Practices Committee that she did not properly transfer campaign funds for the 2008 primary election race. Let's see. They settled that dispute, it looks like. California Assembly Speaker Fabian Nunez was accused in October 10th, 2007 for spending tens of thousands of dollars of campaign money for personal expenses, such as $1,800 for a meal at the Partisan restaurant and $5,000 for wine from the Bordeaux in 2007. That's a pretty good one, huh? So there you go. Fabian Nunez was also found guilty.